Picture this. It's 9:07 a.m. on someone's first day, and one new hire already got fired for microwaving fish and declaring war on the Wi-Fi router. Another got walked out before her ID badge even printed because she told the CEO to mop faster, and one guy bragged about faking sick days to the attendance manager. Welcome to the Olympics of occupational implosion, where confidence meets chaos and HR keeps an exit box permanently loaded. Today we're counting down the 49 dumbest first day at work moments that got people fired. So smash subscribe before you unplug the server and drop your wildest first day story below. 1. A woman started her first day determined to look calm, even though her hands shook like she was defusing a bomb. She tried heating her breakfast, but the microwave refused to cooperate. She tapped it gently, then harder, then shook it like it owed her money. The machine sparked and launched her burrito across the break room. Co-workers screamed as the fire alarm blared. The entire office evacuated before she even learned which desk was hers. HR found her outside holding a melted fork and asking if this was a normal Monday. They handed her an exit form before the fire truck finished parking. 2. A man walked in on his first day, believing he would blend in smoothly and make zero noise. That lasted 8 minutes. He spotted the tiny office therapy dog by the conference room and thought it needed proper discipline. He told it to sit. The dog ignored him. He raised his voice like he was coaching a losing football team. The dog barked back. He barked louder. The meeting inside stopped as the CEO stared at the hallway showdown. The receptionist rushed over yelling that the dog belonged to the CEO's wife. Security arrived before the dog finished wagging its tail. 3. A teen intern walked in excited to prove she was mature enough for real work. She saw a fancy espresso machine and decided to impress everyone by making cappuccinos for the whole marketing team. She pushed every button like she was launching a rocket. Steam blasted out. Milk exploded upward. Foam covered half the counter and sprayed a designer purse belonging to a woman from HR who screamed like her soul left her body. The intern panicked and tried wiping everything with printer paper. The CEO walked in, slipped on the foam, and stared at her in silence. Security arrived before the machine stopped hissing. 4. A young man started his first shift determined to act confident. He tried using the rotating office chair, but didn't understand the height lever. He pressed it and launched himself upward, smacking his head into the hanging light fixture. The whole office gasped as the lamp swung like a wrecking ball. A woman from accounting screamed and ducked under her desk. He tried to play it cool by spinning slowly, but the chair rolled backward into a glass award shelf. The crash echoed. HR ran in, saw the chaos, and handed him a box before the chair stopped spinning. 5. A mother returning to work wanted to seem organized, so she brought a massive planner filled with color-coded tabs. She placed it proudly on her new desk, but the moment she opened it, her toddler's hidden glitter bomb exploded across the entire cubicle. The man working next to her froze like he witnessed a crime scene. Glitter covered his laptop, his hair, and even his coffee. He whispered that glitter never dies. She tried brushing it off, but spread it farther. The manager walked by, saw the sparkling disaster zone, and sighed with the sadness of someone aging instantly. HR escorted her out shimmering like a disco ball. 6. A young woman joined the office convinced she would make friends instantly. She brought homemade cookies as a peace offering. The problem was she didn't label the peanut butter. A coworker grabbed one, took a bite, and immediately shouted for an EpiPen like it was a plot twist in a medical drama. People panicked. Someone dumped water on him. Another screamed into a stapler, thinking it was a phone. She apologized repeatedly until HR rushed in, asking who brought the biohazard. She admitted it was her. They quietly removed her badge while the allergic man glared at her holding an ice pack. 7. A man wanted to prove he was tech-savvy, so he volunteered to fix the conference room television. He grabbed the remote and pressed every button like he was trying cheat codes. The screen flashed, flipped upside down, and went completely purple. A woman waiting for a client presentation covered her face and whispered that she couldn't watch this again. He claimed he had it under control, then accidentally paired the TV to his phone playlist, blasting heavy metal across the floor. The client walked in as the speaker screamed. HR stepped inside, stared at him, and removed his access card without a word. 8. A young woman hoped to look helpful, so she offered to water the office plants. She didn't realize one of them was fake. She poured an entire jug of water into the pot until it overflowed like a tiny flood. A man across the room yelled that the water was dripping through the floor into the IT department below. People rushed to move equipment as water rained from the ceiling tiles. She froze, holding the empty jug like evidence. The plant tilted sideways, soaked and sad. The manager walked up slowly and asked if she understood gravity. HR arrived holding towels and a termination form. 9. A man on his first day wanted to break the ice with humor. He told a joke about the office mascot, not knowing the mascot was a beloved parrot that listened from the break room. The bird heard him, stormed out flapping aggressively, and began repeating his insult word for word. The entire office stopped and stared at him like he committed a felony. A woman from HR gasped and said the bird had feelings. The parrot chased him around the copier while screaming his joke louder. The CEO walked out, unimpressed, and asked who upset his baby. Security escorted the man out while the parrot celebrated. 10. A teen part-timer tried showing initiative by organizing the supply closet. He moved everything around into what he called a new era of efficiency. When the team went to find basic items, nothing made sense. Pens were stored with granola bars. Sticky notes were inside a cereal box. Printer ink was sorted by emotional vibes instead of color. A woman from operations opened the door, stared at the chaos, and screamed into the hallway for assistance. The manager stepped inside, took one look, and declared the closet a total psychological attack. The teen smiled proudly. HR did not. They walked him out gently. 11. A woman on her first morning wanted to look proactive, so she offered to handle the mail cart. She pushed it confidently until she hit a small bump that sent every envelope flying like confetti across the hallway. A man from finance dove to save a stack labeled urgent, but landed flat on the floor. People rushed out of their offices like there had been an explosion. Someone yelled that confidential checks were mixed with coupons. She crawled around grabbing envelopes while apologizing nonstop. The CEO stepped out, watched the chaos unfold, and simply said, "Not today." HR arrived carrying a box before she finished sorting them. 12. A man tried to impress his new team by adjusting the office thermostat, claiming he had temperature intuition. He tapped the screen until it flashed warning symbols. The AC blasted Arctic air through the vents. Papers flew. A woman screamed that her eyelashes froze. He panicked and raised the temperature to compensate, sending the office into sauna mode. People fanned themselves with folders. A man yelled he could smell his own thoughts. Facilities burst in, demanding to know who touched the controls. The man pointed at the thermostat in betrayal. HR arrived sweating, looked at him once, and escorted him out silently. 13. A young woman joined a sales team Zoom call, eager to make a strong first impression. She turned on her camera without realizing her cat was still sitting on her head, like a fuzzy crown. The entire team stared in stunned silence. She gasped and knocked over her drink, splashing the keyboard, which triggered random sound effects. A man whispered, "Is that a cat or an accessory?" She tried to continue talking professionally while wrestling the cat off screen. The CEO joined mid-chaos, watched her struggle, sighed deeply, and ended the meeting for everyone. HR sent her a message seconds later asking for her badge. 14. A man entered the office kitchen wanting to be friendly, so he volunteered to make a big pot of coffee. He misread the instructions and added 20 scoops instead of 2. The coffee machine growled like it was giving birth to a demon. Thick sludge poured out and overflowed onto the counter. A woman walked in, froze, and whispered, "That is not human coffee." He tried scooping the sludge back in with a spoon, which only made it bubble more aggressively. The manager walked in, pinched the bridge of his nose, and told him to step away slowly. HR arrived with disinfectant and his exit packet. 15. A woman wanted to seem helpful by refilling the office snacks. She grabbed the giant bulk bag of mixed nuts, ripped it open too forcefully, and launched almonds across the floor like shrapnel. A co-worker screamed as nuts pinged off the walls. One almond hit the intern's smoothie, sending it flying onto the copier. The copier spit out purple pages like it was panicking. She kept apologizing while slipping on the nuts herself. The operations supervisor arrived, surveyed the battlefield, and asked if a squirrel had been hired. HR arrived moments later holding a broom and her termination form. 16, a man decided to introduce himself to everyone by shaking hands down the hallway. He didn't realize he still had sanitizer on his palms. People recoiled as their hands got drenched in gel. One woman yelped that he slimed her. He apologized and tried wiping his hands on a tissue, but it shredded instantly, sticking to his fingers. He kept shaking hands anyway, spreading tiny tissue pieces everywhere like confetti. The director stepped out of her office covered in white flakes and asked if this was a prank. HR watched him struggle, sighed, and escorted him out with sanitizer still dripping. 17, a young woman wanted to show initiative by organizing the desktop cables under her new desk. She crawled underneath, unplugged the power strip, and accidentally shut down half the department's computers. A man yelled that he hadn't saved his spreadsheet in 2 hours. Another screamed that his meeting notes vanished. She emerged holding the unplugged strip like it betrayed her. People stared at her as screens rebooted painfully slow. The IT manager arrived, looked at the dead monitors, and asked if she was trying to time travel. HR gently took the power strip from her hands and walked her out compassionately. 18, a man tried to join office small talk by sharing fun trivia. Unfortunately, his trivia was wrong. He confidently told a woman that dolphins were classified as vegetables. She stared at him in horror. Another coworker choked on his drink, laughing. He doubled down and tried explaining his logic, making it worse. The room fell silent as people wondered if he was serious. The supervisor overheard, walked over, and asked why he was spreading marine salad facts. He panicked and tripped over a recycling bin. HR took him aside and suggested his talents might flourish elsewhere. 19, a woman hoped to bond with her team by bringing her homemade smoothie. She shook it before opening, not realizing it had fermented overnight. The moment she twisted the cap, it exploded like a fruit grenade. Banana foam blasted across the office wall. A man shouted, "Incoming!" while ducking behind his cubicle. The smoothie dripped down a motivational poster that now looked like it was crying. She tried wiping the mess with her scarf, smearing it worse. The manager walked in, saw the dripping catastrophe, and whispered, "Why?" HR arrived holding paper towels and her final paperwork. 20, a man wanted to display confidence by leaning casually against the office wall. He didn't realize it was a sliding partition. The moment he applied pressure, it slid open and he fell into an ongoing meeting. The team screamed as he landed on the conference table, knocking over notebooks and a woman's iced latte. She stared at him with wide eyes like she witnessed an alien landing. He apologized while tangled in chair wheels. The department head slowly closed his laptop, stood, and asked him to step outside. HR met him at the door before he could untangle himself. 21, a woman on her first day wanted to seem responsible, so she volunteered to take out the office trash. She didn't realize one bag was filled with shredded documents soaked in old coffee. When she lifted it, the bottom ripped open and a waterfall of soggy paper poured across the hallway. A man stepped out of his office, slipped and slid 5 feet like a penguin. People gasped as the floor turned into a mushy disaster. She tried scooping the mess with her hands, making it look worse. The manager approached, stared at the chaos, and whispered that this was a sign. HR handed her a box gently. 22, a man wanted to make a strong impression by showing off his multitasking skills. He carried his laptop, lunch, and water bottle all at once while walking toward his desk. He tripped over absolutely nothing. Everything flew. His salad landed on a woman's keyboard. His laptop slammed onto the floor and started playing loud motivational music. The woman from HR ran in because she thought someone was having a breakdown. He kept apologizing while picking lettuce out of the keys. The boss watched silently, then pointed toward the exit. HR walked him out while the music kept playing from the cracked laptop. 23, a young woman wanted to demonstrate initiative, so she offered to clean the whiteboard before a big presentation. She grabbed what she thought was cleaner, but accidentally used permanent marker remover that left giant smudges everywhere. The board turned into a cloudy mess like a foggy window. The presenter walked in, stared at it, and said his soul had just left his body. She panicked and tried wiping harder, making the smudges even bigger. A man whispered that it looked like a crime scene. The CEO arrived, blinked twice in disbelief, and asked who vandalized the board. HR quietly removed her badge. 24. A man thought bringing balloons would brighten the office atmosphere. He brought helium tanks and inflated so many balloons that the entire cubicle area looked like a birthday party gone wrong. His co-workers struggled to walk through them. A woman screamed because a balloon popped near her ear. He apologized loudly, but then another popped, and another. People ducked like they were under attack. The operations manager arrived and stared at the chaos like he had aged 10 years instantly. He asked the man to remove every balloon immediately. HR stepped in before the next one popped and escorted him out. 25. A woman wanted to be friendly, so she offered her new co-workers a taste of her homemade kombucha. She didn't realize one bottle had over-fermented. When she opened it, it erupted like a geyser, shooting liquid onto a man's expensive suit. He stared at her in absolute betrayal. She panicked and grabbed napkins, but the smell got stronger. People gagged. Someone yelled to open a window. The CFO walked by, sniffed the air, and almost turned around instantly. HR arrived with gloves, a mop, and her final paperwork. The kombucha fizzed aggressively until they escorted her out. 26. A man tried to join an office brainstorm meeting with confidence. He thought sitting on the edge of the conference table would make him look cool and relaxed. The table disagreed. It flipped him off backward like a catapult. People gasped as he hit the floor with a thud. A woman asked if he performed his own stunts. The table continued wobbling dangerously. He tried to laugh it off, but couldn't stand up straight. The department head leaned down and gently suggested he take the rest of his career elsewhere. HR helped him up slowly and guided him out. 27. A young woman tried to refill the water cooler, but didn't know how to flip the giant jug correctly. She attempted a dramatic swing like she was performing a magic trick. The jug slipped and burst open, flooding the floor instantly. A man screamed as the water washed his documents across the hallway. She tried blocking the water with her hands, which did nothing. People stood on chairs to avoid getting soaked. The office manager arrived with a face of pure disappointment. She apologized while standing in ankle-deep water. HR guided her out with towels under her shoes. 28. A man wanted to impress his boss by showing punctuality. He arrived 2 hours early and tried turning on the office lights himself. He pressed the wrong switch and triggered the emergency alarm instead. Sirens blared, red lights flashed. Security sprinted down the hallway like action movie heroes. He stood frozen, holding a granola bar. Employees arrived confused and annoyed. A woman yelled that she hadn't even had coffee yet. The building supervisor asked him why he touched anything. HR appeared, rubbed her temples, and walked him outside before the alarm fully shut off. 29. A woman tried making conversation by complimenting a man's interesting shirt. Unfortunately, it was the official company uniform. He stared at her like she insulted the flag. She attempted to recover but said it looked retro, which made it worse. A co-worker snorted. The uniform man walked straight to HR to report uniform disrespect. The woman followed, apologizing loudly. The HR manager sighed deeply, glancing at her email inbox like she regretted life. After a long, awkward silence, HR thanked her for her time and showed her the exit door gently. 30. A man on his first day wanted to help by grabbing packages from the delivery area. He stacked too many boxes and couldn't see. He walked directly into a glass wall, bounced off it, and the boxes exploded across the lobby. A woman gasped so loudly it echoed. A fragile package rolled toward the receptionist, who picked it up like a newborn and glared at him. One box revealed promotional mugs that shattered instantly. The manager walked over, pinched the bridge of his nose, and asked him to sit down. HR arrived moments later with his exit form. 31. A young woman wanted to make a bold impression, so she decided to bring in a massive bouquet of flowers for her new desk. She didn't realize she was extremely allergic to half of them. Within minutes, she sneezed so hard her headset flew off and hit a man walking by. He screamed because he thought a bird attacked him. She kept sneezing uncontrollably, knocking over pens, papers, and even someone's iced coffee. The office watched her dissolve into chaos. The manager approached slowly, staring at the pollen cloud. HR arrived holding tissues in her exit envelope. 32. A man tried to impress everyone by fixing the office printer jam. He pulled one piece of paper, then another, then decided he was basically a mechanic. He reached deeper into the machine and got his sleeve stuck. The printer dragged his arm as it powered on, causing him to scream loud enough for the whole floor to hear. A woman rushed over thinking he needed medical attention. The printer began printing crooked pages while he begged for help. It arrived, unplugged everything, and stared at him like he was a glitch in human form. HR walked him out quietly. 33. A young woman wanted to seem tech-savvy, so she connected her phone to the office Bluetooth speaker system to play focus music. She didn't realize her playlist automatically switched to her gym hype tracks. Suddenly, the entire office blasted intense workout beats while she scrambled to disconnect it. People stood up confused. A man yelled that he wasn't emotionally prepared for cardio. She fumbled with her phone while the music got louder. The CEO walked in, stared at her with disappointment, and asked if this was a fitness center. HR appeared immediately and took her badge. 34. A man wanted to show off his organization skills by rearranging the office fridge. He threw away anything unmarked, assuming it was expired. By noon, half the office was screaming because their lunches were missing. A woman opened the fridge, gasped dramatically, and shouted that her $8 salad was gone. People crowded around, demanding answers. He proudly explained his cleanup initiative. The staff stared at him like he committed workplace treason. The office manager arrived furious about her missing yogurt. HR escorted him out before someone threw a spoon at him. 35. A woman tried to fit in by joining the morning stretching routine she thought the team was doing. They weren't stretching. They were picking papers up from the floor. She bent down dramatically, did a full yoga pose, and knocked over a man carrying coffee. He dropped all 3 cups onto his white shirt. She apologized while tangled in her own blazer. The entire office looked confused. The manager walked over, rubbing his forehead. HR arrived moments later, gently helping her untangle while handing her an exit slip. 36. A man wanted to make a great first impression by showing he was detail-oriented. He spent his entire first hour correcting what he thought were typos on a presentation. When the team opened the file, every chart title was rewritten in fancy cursive. A woman gasped and asked why it looked like a wedding invitation. The client presentation started in 10 minutes. Everyone panicked, trying to undo his edits. He proudly explained he was improving the aesthetic. The supervisor stared at him for a long, silent moment. HR approached from behind, holding his badge in a small box. 37. A young woman wanted to bond with coworkers by giving them little compliments. Unfortunately, she told a man his hairstyle made him look just like her grandpa. The office froze. The man blinked slowly as if processing an insult from another dimension. She tried correcting herself but said it made him look wise, which made it worse. A woman nearby giggled uncontrollably. The man walked directly to HR. She followed him, apologizing with increasing panic. HR listened to the story with a blank expression, then quietly asked her to return her badge. 38. A man tried to seem helpful by offering to refill the office soap dispensers. He grabbed what he assumed was soap from the supply closet, but it was actually industrial-strength floor cleaner. The bathroom smelled like chemicals within minutes. A woman washed her hands and screamed because it felt like menthol fire. People rushed out coughing. The building supervisor stormed in, demanding to know who poisoned the sink. The man held the empty jug like a guilty toddler. HR approached wearing gloves and told him he wouldn't need his badge anymore. 39. A young woman wanted to make a memorable first impression, so she wore extremely high heels, thinking they looked professional. She regretted it immediately. She slipped on the freshly mopped floor, slid forward 10 feet, and took down an entire display of office brochures. Papers flew everywhere like confetti at a sad parade. A man shouted that someone needed a helmet. She sat up embarrassed, surrounded by pamphlets about workplace safety. The CEO walked by, stared at the scene, and said nothing. HR arrived and helped her stand before escorting her out. 40. A man tried to be polite by holding the elevator door open for a group of co-workers. He didn't know the building's elevator was notoriously sensitive. He held the door too long, triggering a full system reset. The elevator froze with 4 people inside who immediately blamed him. One woman yelled that she was claustrophobic. Another man said he had a meeting in 3 minutes. He apologized repeatedly as the elevator groaned loudly. Maintenance arrived, shaking their heads. HR approached him from behind and quietly asked for his badge before the elevator even restarted. 41. A young woman wanted to prove she was a fast learner, so she volunteered to answer incoming calls. She didn't realize the phone system had 20 confusing blinking buttons. She pressed all of them at once. Suddenly, every call in the company connected to her headset. She heard overlapping voices screaming for help, updates, shipping details, and someone asking for pizza. She froze. A man from IT ran over shouting for her to stop pressing things. The CEO walked out hearing the chaos and stared like she opened a portal to another universe. HR arrived and removed her headset before guiding her out. 42. A man tried to look helpful by carrying boxes to the storage room. He thought the light switch was inside, but grabbed the door alarm instead. The hallway filled with a deafening siren. Employees spilled out of offices in panic. A woman yelled that she thought it was a drill. The storage room door slammed behind him, locking him inside with the alarm blaring. He pounded on the door while boxes toppled around him. Security and HR arrived at the same time, opened the door slowly, and stared at him as if he summoned chaos on purpose. He was escorted out silently. 43. A young woman wanted to be friendly, so she decided to refill the candy bowl at reception. She grabbed a huge bag of mixed sweets and poured it in too fast. The bowl cracked and shattered, sending candy skidding across the polished floor. A man walked in, stepped on a piece, and slid across the lobby like a cartoon character. The receptionist shrieked as he crashed into a plant. She kept apologizing while picking up candy one by one. The manager walked by, stared at the mess, and whispered, "Not again." HR appeared moments later and walked her out gently. 44. A man entered a meeting room early and tried adjusting the fancy digital screen. He pressed a button that switched it to display the CEO's private calendar. The team gasped. A woman shouted for him to turn it off. He panicked and pressed random icons, making everything worse. The screen started reading out appointments in a robotic voice. Everyone froze as the CEO walked in and saw his schedule publicly broadcasting across the room. The man apologized, but the CEO simply pointed at the door. HR waited for him outside, holding a termination form. 45. A young woman wanted to show she cared about the environment, so she attempted to sort every piece of office trash into the correct recycling bin. She did not realize the bins were mislabeled. She confidently instructed coworkers to sort things properly. By noon, the entire office recycling system was reversed and chaos erupted. A man yelled that she had created eco-anarchy. The building supervisor inspected the bins and nearly fainted. She tried fixing it, but only made the piles larger. HR calmly walked her out while holding a reusable tote bag. 46. A man wanted to help by testing all the office markers to see which ones worked. He pressed a marker against his hand, then another, and another. Soon his entire palm was covered in multicolored ink. He didn't realize the markers were permanent. A woman screamed when she saw him because he looked like he dipped his hand in paint. He touched his face by accident and left a streak across his cheek. The manager walked in, stared quietly, and turned around without speaking. HR escorted him out while he tried wiping the ink onto a tissue unsuccessfully. 47. A young woman tried to lighten the office mood by playing music softly from her desk speaker. She didn't know the Bluetooth was connected to the CEO's office sound system. Her playlist briefly played soothing jazz, which was fine, until it switched to her dramatic breakup songs. The CEO froze mid-email as emotional lyrics blasted into his office. He stormed out, demanding to know who hijacked his speakers. She froze in horror. Co-workers tried not to laugh. HR approached, unplugged the speaker, and quietly asked her to pack her things. 48. A man wanted to help clean the whiteboard, so he used a product from the supply closet labeled industrial strength. He sprayed it generously. The board instantly bubbled and peeled like melting plastic. A woman screamed that it looked like it was dissolving. The presentation was scheduled in 2 minutes. People panicked, searching for another board. The manager arrived, looked at the melted surface, and whispered, "Why would you do this?" HR stepped in, handed him a box, and walked him out before the board fully sagged. 49. A young woman wanted to bond with coworkers, so she tried telling a joke she found online. She didn't realize it referenced a failed company project everyone hated. The room went silent. A man exhaled sharply like she reopened old wounds. She attempted to explain, but only made it worse. The project manager walked in at the worst possible moment and heard the whole thing. His eyes widened. She froze. Co-workers stared at her with pity. HR entered the room seconds later and politely escorted her toward the exit. And there you have it, the 49 dumbest first day disasters ever witnessed in an American workplace. If you've ever had a first day that didn't involve alarms, explosions, allergic reactions, broken furniture, or confused CEOs, consider yourself lucky. But now it's your turn. What's the wildest thing you've ever seen happen on someone's first day at work? Tell me in the comments. Your story might be crazier than all 49 combined.